Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right. Let's pull up this screen. All right, Georgia fans and media opinions, former players, etc., their predictions, and we're going to go behind enemy lines. Now, one of the things I like to do on this channel is I like to see what other people are having to say out there, especially if they're for the other team and on YouTube, and it's quite entertaining and interesting and informative. And I do like going behind enemy lines and kind of seeing what people are up to. So that's what we're going to do in this one because, look, this is as big a game as it gets. This is the biggest game of the season. Everybody in the country is going to watch this game, and that's all they're talking about. So it's big.
What is it? Biggest thing ever happened in Mayberry. Real big. Big.
Oh, yeah, it's real big. All right, this first one is he's Mr. Georgia. He covers Georgia all the time. Some people won't call him that, but I find him kind of entertaining, and he can be a little bit negative. He likes to trash talk, but he's going to talk about Stetson Bennett. Now, I think Stetson Bennett's a quality player. You know, he's not all world. I get that, and he's probably not going to play in the NFL. If he does, it'll be, limited. But I think he's a pretty darn good player, and he won a national title, so, props there. But I think Lou's been a little bit unimpressed this year, and this is his opinion on Stetson Bennett, who I think is the key to the game. If he plays well, Georgia will have a good chance of winning. If he plays poorly, I don't see any way they win.
I hate to do this. Stetson Bennett's terrible. I want you just to imagine for a second Stetson Bennett on some other team with average talent. Imagine what you would get from Stetson Bennett. He's horrible. He played horrible again. 3 games Stetson Bennett's had against Florida, and 3 times he's played horrible. But Georgia's just supremely talented, and even with a terrible quarterback like Stetson Bennett, we're able to beat the bejesus out of Florida 42-20. Georgia Blues to 8-0, ranked number 1 in the country. I know that makes you mad.
So I know sometimes the fan bases are a little bit harder on their own quarterback than they would be on somebody else's. That's actually pretty typical because, he's watching every single game, and so are all the Georgia fans, and they're a little bit indifferent towards him. But, what I've seen of him, he's, played pretty well. Not as well as last year. What I've seen of him, he's not playing as well as last year, and I think that's part of it. And I also think Uncle Lou realizes the Vols are a very dangerous team.
Dangerous. That's right. Nice, man. I am dangerous.
Yeah. Just listen to Maverick. That's his opinion. Now, these next couple of guys, their channel's called The Solid Verbal, and they're pretty interesting and informed, so I sometimes listen to them, and let's see what they've got to say about the game.
Tennessee presents on offense is basically better than what anybody else presents doing anything this season. And so for them to be, what'd you say, 9.5 point underdogs?
It opened at 9.
Yeah.
And it's jumped around a little bit. It's currently at 8.
Okay. So somewhere above or right around a 1 possession, 8-9 point spread here. I don't know. I watched Tennessee, Alabama, and the Vols met the moment with a wobbly knuckler at the end. But that offense, against what I still think is a good Alabama defense, maybe one that had some issues in the secondary that specific day, but Tennessee met the moment. It was not too big for them. It was the biggest Tennessee game in 16 years, whatever, and they met the moment once again. Georgia meets it for a quarter, meets it for a half. Obviously, they were terrific against Oregon in the opening game of the season. Really strong opening the game against Florida last week, but led Florida back into the game. I'm going Tennessee. I'm going Tennessee to cover. I am not positive in the outcome of this game. I tend to trust a home team with a still very good defense if it's tight late to get that stop. But when I see Hendon Hooker throw the ball downfield, like a teardrop coming from the heavens, falling into the hands of Jalen Hyatt, I think to myself, I'm not going to be the one to bet against that ability. I'm not going to be that person. So I'm going Tennessee here, plus the points.
On some level, I think it's a math problem for Georgia. Maybe just don't let the unstoppable offense have the ball that much.
Sure.
Right? If Georgia's able to control the pace of this game and continues stringing long drives together the way they have all season long, they're going to win this game. That's how Georgia wins games, especially big ones against a team like Tennessee with a really potent offense. Where they could run into trouble, I think, is if Tennessee can either stop or curtail them a bit on the ground. Because the Vols' rush defense is actually quite good.
Yeah.
It's the strength of this defensive unit.
So I found that pretty interesting. They are right about the rushing attack of Georgia. If we are able to stop that and make them one-dimensional, which we pretty much have done to a lot of teams, that has helped a lot. That's the difference between our defense last year and this year. Last year, people could run on us and they could throw on us. Now, the rushing's pretty much been over. Nobody's gotten more than about 100 yards on us all year, including Alabama. And they've got the best running back in the country. And, of course, they've always got a great offensive line. But they just weren't able to run the ball like they wanted to. They had to get into a passing game with us. And they were fortunate that they've got Bryce Young, who is, Heisman Trophy winner and a magician back there. Mahomes 2.0, I call him. I mean, he's a phenomenal athlete. But that's how this game has gotten so big, is that we did beat Alabama.
Alabama!
Exactly, Alabama. Anyway, but I found that pretty interesting. That's the way a lot of people are looking at this, is they think, can Georgia keep up offensively with the Vols? It's not going to be easy. Nobody has been able to do it except Alabama came real close. And it, like I said, it came down to a kick, the helicopter kick. That's the truth. But this next one, this is two former players, which is Aaron Murray and Josh Dobbs. And, of course, Josh Dobbs is a great Tennessee VFL. I mean, he was one of the best quarterbacks we've had as far as he carried the team and carried Butch Jones for a few years. Now, we had a bunch of good players with him. I shouldn't say he carried it, but he was a huge reason why we were winning games, because when he was done and went to the NFL, it was no bueno. But let's see what Aaron Murray and Josh Dobbs have to say. And this channel is called The Players Lounge.
Make them earn it. Make them drive it. Make them actually have a possession that's not a minute and 30 seconds, but 5 minutes and 30 seconds, and it's 10 to 15 plays. Tennessee thrives on momentum-changing, game-changing plays, and I want to see if they can handle getting through an entire game when they don't make those explosive plays. So I think for Georgia, they got the DBs to handle it. I like their safeties, and it's just a matter of slowing them down, so we'll see if they can do it.
Yeah, and I think for Tennessee, the keys to victory are, on the offensive side of the ball, is exactly opposite of what you said. It's be you. What's made you Tennessee all year is thriving on the explosive plays. It's, striking fast and really setting the tempo and controlling the tempo throughout the game. And so, we've seen, the times – it's been rare, but the times this season that the offense has struggled is when they've gotten out of their rhythm. They're not hitting those big plays. They're not being able to thin out the box and capitalize on the hat number in the run game. So I think if Tennessee is able to stay true to who they have been, then they'll be successful on offense. And then I think, the game really comes down to Tennessee's defense, right? It's, the offense is going to make its plays. But Georgia has a really good offense, and also Georgia, with their offensive line and their physicality, is able to control the clock if they're able to run the ball efficiently throughout the game. Us winning, obviously, 38-34.
Ooh. I got Georgia winning 35-31.
Okay, I like that.
I think it's gonna be close. I'm surprised the line's that big, especially with Nolan out too for us on defense.
All right, it's good to see two former greats, Aaron Murray and Josh Dobbs. Now, those guys can chuck a football. Man, they're both really, really good. I think it's going to be a close game, probably in the 30s. If we get in the mid-upper 30s, we'll win the game, because I don't think Georgia can keep up with us. That's really the key, is we've got to score. They're going to score some on us. They've got plenty of great athletes on there and out there. Those tight ends are brutal. They're all going to play in the NFL, all three of them. And, they can run the ball pretty well. Hopefully we can stop that. But, our secondary has been a little bit suspect, not counting the Kentucky game where they played fantastic. It's the best game of the year for them. 3 turnovers, and they just sealed the deal. And it also helped that we got a lot of pressure on the quarterback, and Tennessee needs to put a bunch of pressure on Stetson Bennett, and he's very elusive. He's not easy to sack, but if they can get him sacked and cause him to throw some interceptions, which he is capable of doing, that would be huge for us. A couple of turnovers by Georgia, and we would be in real good shape to win that game. Vice versa for us, we can't be turning the ball over to Georgia because they'll just chew the clock. And I can tell you Tennessee's going to show up ready to play, and I think it's going to be a lot like this.
Well, I didn't think you had it in you.
I'm your huckleberry.
Why, Johnny Ringo, you look like somebody just walked over your grave. Say when.
That's right. We're going to be there, Huckleberry, come Saturday. I see it being a great game. I'm super excited about it. I know you are too. I just thought it'd be a good idea to go behind enemy lines a little bit. Not completely, but, we got to see from Josh Dobbs. But interested to see some neutral parties, some very pro-Georgia parties, and kind of see what they had to say about the teams, players, and the game. And if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover the Vols. And if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. I'd appreciate it. I've only been doing this about 4 months. I could certainly use some subscribers. I sure could. Anyway, I hope you did like the content. We'll see you next time on Sports Talk J.